Your Honor, the state next calls Mariah Grimes. And may Mr. Stroll and I approach, Your Honor, as she's approaching?
Yes, Mariah Grimes.
It's taken care of.
Oh,
Yes, sir, that was the issue.
okay. Mariah Grimes, please. Ms. Grimes, if you could come all the way up to the front for me, please, ma'am. And right up here to the front, if you'll raise your right hand, the clerk will administer the oath to you.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
All right, ma'am, if you'll come right around here and have a seat for me in the witness chair. And if you scoot yourself up to the microphone, be sure and speak right into the microphone and speak loudly so everybody can hear you, all right?
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Be sure and speak up.
Okay.
Ms. Wolfson, go right ahead.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Could you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Okay. Mariah Grimes, MariahGrimes.
Ms. Grimes, where are you currently employed?
Gate Petra.
Now, Ms. Grimes, how long have you been employed? Excuse me, let me strike that. Is that Gate Petroleum?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Ms. Grimes, how long have you been employed by Gate Petroleum?
Since September 2012.
Now, Ms. Grimes, could you just speak into the microphone?
Oh, September 2012.
Okay, thank you. That's better. Now, do you work at a particular Gate gas station store?
Yes, the Southside and Bay Meadows store.
And how long have you worked at that particular store?
Since I started.
Could you tell the jury what your role is at Gate Petroleum?
Okay, I'm a CSR, which is a customer service representative, and I just ring customers up and do the cleaning and all that good stuff.
Now, Ms. Grimes, I'd like to turn your attention back to November 23rd of 2012. Were you working on that particular day?
Yes, I was.
And were you working then at that particular Gate gas station store?
Yes, I was.
And that's here in Jacksonville?
Yes, ma'am.
In Duval County?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Ms. Grimes, what shift were you working on that day?
Second shift, which is 2 to 10 p.m.
And during that day when you were you working then as a customer service representative?
Yes, I was.
When you're working at the Gate gas station stores, are you assigned to a particular register?
You get the register that's open when you go in, when you clock in.
Okay, and on this particular day, who else was working?
Lillian, which was our assistant manager at the time, and a coworker, Darion.
Ms. Grimes, do you remember which particular register you were working at?
Yes, I was at register number 3.
Now, could you explain to the jury when you're walking in to the gas station what the store looks like in terms of where the registers are?
Okay, when you walk in, you're immediately facing register number 2. To your right is register 1, and to your left is register number 3.
Now, Ms. Grimes, are those registers in a line?
They curve, so you're facing 2. 1 is off to the right side, and then over to the left is register number 3.
Okay, and are those 3 registers, is it one particular, is it one continuous counter?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you work on register 3 then for your entire shift?
Yes.
Okay, and do you know where your coworker Darian was working?
Yeah, he had register number 1.
And then where was your assistant manager Lillian working?
She had register number 2.
Ms. Grimes, during your shift, did anything out of the ordinary happen?
Not until the incident with,
Go ahead.
no, the incident with the gunshots.
Now, Ms. Grimes, where were you when you heard those gunshots?
I was behind my register number 3.
Were you helping any customer when you were behind your register?
Yes, I had a customer.
Who were you helping?
A woman who was buying a bag of chips and a bottle of wine.
Do you remember what she looked like?
She was tall, I would say mid-40s, brunette hair down to her shoulders, and she was dressed in nice clothes.
What happened after you heard those
Me and my customer looked out front, outside the window, to see what was going on.
Now, can you explain to the jury from behind register 3, what window would you be looking out of? In reference to where the front doors are.
Okay. The front door is facing register 2, so our first window pane that you could see from register number 3. Like, I don't know how to describe it. You could just see out to the parking spots and the gas pumps. I don't know.
And now, Ms. Grimes, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 5. Is that up on your screen?
Okay.
And looking at State's Exhibit 5, can you circle which window it is that you would have been able to see out of?
This one. And the column kind of blocks the shot. Do you have a better one?
I was just about to get to
Okay.
State's Exhibit 6.
Yeah, the same one then. This one.
And then I believe State's Exhibit 10. Is that a closer
Okay, yeah.
photograph?
Both of them.
Okay, so those are then the 2 windows that you would have been able to see out of?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Ms. Grimes, I'm looking at State's Exhibit 10. Can you tell the jury whether or not there's any signage on those windows that would prevent your view?
At the time there wasn't, but the first window, the one that doesn't have any sign, is the one I can see out the best.
Okay.
And then
Ms. Grimes, how many gunshots did you first hear?
I heard about 3 gunshots, and that's when I looked out the window.
What did you see when you looked out of the window?
A black 4-door car and hands holding a gun rested on the windowsill.
Now, in looking at State's Exhibit 10, Ms. Grimes, can you put an X where you saw that black car? Now, I know you stated you saw hands.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, was that 2 hands?
Yes.
Okay, and what were they holding?
They were holding a silver gun.
Could you see which direction the gun was pointed?
They were pointed outside of the driver's window, so north, I believe.
So would they have been pointing into that parking spot that's right to the left of the X?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell from where you were if there was anything next to that black car?
I did not see another car next to him. The car, I'm sorry.
Now, Ms. Grimes, from where you were inside at the gas station, could you tell whether or not a door was open on that black car?
Yes, the door was not open.
Okay. Now, after initially looking out the front window, what did you do?
I got down and I said, he's shooting. And I got down and then I got back up and then looked out the window. And by that time, my customer had walked already to the door, the front door, and I watched her get into the passenger side of the car and then drive away.
Now, Ms. Grimes, before she walked out of the store, did you hear any other gunshots?
Yes.
How many gunshots in total did you hear?
I heard about 6 more.
And when you heard those 6 more gunshots, was that customer, was she still inside of the store?
Yes, she was making her way to the door.
Now, when she walked towards the door, Ms. Grimes, could you tell where she went when she got to the door?
What do you mean?
When your customer got to the front door of the gate store, could you see where she went?
Yes, I watched her walk and get into the passenger side of the car.
And once she got into the passenger side of the car, did you see what happened with that car?
They just pulled from the spot and left.
Now, when the front door opened and that customer walked out, could you hear anyone speaking or anything like that outside?
Just her. She said, "Michael, what's going on?" And then she left.
Ms. Grimes, prior to these gunshots, could you hear any loud music from outside the store?
I could not hear any music.
Do you remember hearing any sort of an argument from within the store?
No, ma'am.
Now, Ms. Grimes, do you know whether or not the gate station has surveillance?
I know we have surveillance inside the store, but not outside.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I would ask
All right.
Which is State Exhibit 168.
Hot dog. I know it's kind of old now, but I'm cool. I'll take it down home with my dad. He'll eat it.
Yes, ma'am. Next to me, to my left, is register 2, and then where he's standing, my coworker is register 1.
Oh, you have to wait until you get it in your account.
Yes, ma'am.
Good luck.
I apologize. Your
That's all right. I just couldn't hear.
Ms. Grimes, I'm looking at the right corner of the surveillance footage. Do you see that receipt?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that then correspond to what the customer is purchasing?
Yes.
Okay.
You're welcome. Good night. Oh my God! Somebody's shooting! Somebody's shooting out their car. I swear to God, he's shooting right here in front of us. Call the cops. The cops are right across the street. Oh my God! Where? This guy right here. You don't walk out there, honey. That might not be the smart thing to do. Oh my God! That was like so scary. What'd you say? No, that's my car. Yeah, this guy right here. Let's get in it.
No, Ms. Grimes, on this screen, oops. I know she's a little off to the corner. Is that then your assistant manager, Lillian Christensen?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Did you then have a conversation with her and tell her what you had seen?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at some point, Ms. Grimes, did the police arrive on scene?
Yes, they did.
Prior to the police arriving on scene, did you ever go outside?
No, I didn't.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
And for the record, I'm showing Ms. Grimes has previously been entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 169.
All right.
Ms. Grimes, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 169. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I printed it out for the police, ma'am.
And what is State's Exhibit 169?
The receipt that the lady that was purchasing the stuff, her receipt.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't, you in the back row, if you can't see it very well, you'll have an opportunity to look at it carefully and more closely when you take it back to the jury room to deliberate your verdict.
Now, Ms. Grimes, the woman who was making the purchase, did she actually complete her purchase?
She never took the products or her change, but I did cash her out.
Okay. A moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Just one last question, Ms. Grimes.
Okay.
We'll just take a moment to get the screenshot of the surveillance.
Is that microphone on the podium working? Yeah. Battery die?
This one? Now it's on.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Grimes, looking at the screenshot that's up there right now, can you just circle for the jury where the front door is?
Yes, 1 second.
There. Okay. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Mr. Stroll across?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Grimes. How are you?
I'm fine.
Looking at that video that was just up there, you're familiar with the gate surveillance video. Obviously, in the store, you know there's videos there.
Yes, yes, sir.
And there's several of them.
Yes.
And matter of fact, on that video, you could click on every different video and get that different angle from that camera, correct?
Yes.
And audio's being recorded, correct?
Yes.
And matter of fact, isn't it true the first time you actually saw that video, you saw it online because your aunt told you the news posted your video online, right?
Yes.
Okay. And when you took your depo, you actually referred in your answers of, I didn't even remember saying that until I saw it online.
What part are you talking about? What did
The
I
part where
say
you
that I
ducked
didn't?
down? Do you remember not even ducking down until you saw it on the video and saying, oh my God?
I don't remember saying that, to be honest.
Okay. And you recall, again, the first time seeing it, it was out in the news and your family member had you watch it.
Yes, a few months later, I believe.
Okay. And isn't it true that your testimony is the gentleman you saw shooting that gun, his hands were on the windowsill the entire time, correct?
Yes.
And by windowsill, you mean the driver's windowsill?
Yes.
Right. He wasn't leaning out of the car.
No.
He didn't open the door and jump out of the car.
I didn't see him do that, no.
Okay. And matter of fact, when you popped back up, you could clearly see him, correct?
I just saw hands. I didn't know if it was male or female.
But I meant you could clearly see in front of you.
Oh, yes, I could.
And just, I know the video is kind of on an angle. May I move your arm?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And I know on video it's kind of funny. Even though this is cash register 3, let's pretend you're at your register 3, right?
Okay.
Register 2 would be right over here,
Yes.
and then register 1 would kind of be around the corner where Darian Eights was. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And matter of fact, there's cameras at the front door, cash register 1, 2, 3, the office, the cooler, things like that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You can see that from the same video. You just have to click on it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, from where you are, let's just again assume you're cash register 3 from the video. What you saw was directly in front of you, correct?
Yes.
All right. So not to say cash register 1 is the first one in line. The way gate works, it's kind of odd. I know it's on an angle, right? Mm-hmm. And then when
Yes.
you walk in the door, you go to the left, your cash register is right there, correct?
Yes.
And the very first spot is right in front of you, correct?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Isn't it also true that you couldn't see anything to your right next to that car shooting?
I couldn't see 2 more spaces past.
Okay. And isn't it true you couldn't see any vehicle or red SUV next to him? Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And you couldn't see anything to 2 spaces over. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then so there's no SUV next to him.
No.
There's no SUV in the third spot next to him.
Correct.
And then you couldn't see the fourth because there's a column, correct?
Yes, there
And at
is.
that point, there's some things on the window that blocked your view?
Correct.
Okay. So your testimony is when you saw the firing and you see the hands on the windowsill, nobody's next to him for 2 spots, correct?
Correct.
And you'd also agree there was a lot of news coverage in this case. We talked about that a little bit.
Yes, none directed towards me though. Like I never.
Well, not that you gave interviews, but
yeah.
they put your video, they put that online, right?
Yes, I did.
And that's how you found it. It wasn't the state attorney's, your aunt showed it to you.
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it true that night, and again, you were freaked out, fair to say?
Correct.
You ever been through anything like that before?
No, I haven't.
It's extremely scary, is it not?
It is.
Okay, and did it shake you up?
It did.
I think at one point, if I recall from the video, Miss Christensen said you want to take a minute, and I think you even walked away from the counter to kind of catch your breath.
I did.
Okay, and at that point, do you remember talking to Darian Aites about what just had happened, your co-employee?
I believe I did talk to him.
And you talked to Lillian Christensen?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
What does, I'm not going into, if I may approach, Your Honor.
Okay.
Turn my mic off, sorry, Judge.
All right, with the representation that the question is just, did you have the conversation, not anything beyond that, it's overruled. Go ahead, Mr. Strolla.
Thank you. Would you like me to rephrase the question, or can you remember it?
Rephrase, please.
Okay. Do you recall having conversations with Darian Aites about what happened that night?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall having conversations with Lillian Christensen, the assistant manager, that night?
Yes.
Okay. Did you also talk to other customers in the store about what had just happened?
I believe talking to them, but not getting into depth what I saw.
Okay. And anything, and again, everything recorded is fair and accurate, correct?
Yes.
Nothing you saw looked like anybody tampered with it, is that correct?
No.
And would you admit, if you did have conversations, they would be recorded and you'd hear the audio?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll say the video, we'll agree the video is kind of the best evidence?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you were there when the witnesses were brought in, is that correct? You were inside the store still?
Yes, I was inside the store.
And how many witnesses were inside the Gate gas station?
I don't know the number, but there was quite a few people that were brought in,
About 10, maybe a little more?
roughly.
Okay. And they weren't allowed to go on half of the store because that's where the potato chips and wine were, correct?
Correct.
So they were put on the other half of the Gate gas station store, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And everybody was about 5-6 feet away from each other, is that a fair representation?
I suppose.
Okay. And in fact, do you recall saying that officers were actually standing outside the door of the Gate gas station?
They were.
Okay.
Once they arrived.
Right. And at one point, they weren't even inside, they were standing in front of that door so people couldn't come in and leave, is that correct?
Yes, there was one, I believe, inside. He was coming in and out.
And matter of fact, when that one got out, do you recall if Miss Christensen actually locked the door so people couldn't come in and out?
Yes.
And that officer tried to come back in and was locked out, wasn't he?
Correct.
He got a little upset because he got locked out?
Yes.
Okay. And then he had Miss Christensen unlock the door again? Mm-hmm. That's a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and obviously people were still talking inside the Gate gas station, correct?
We were not talking about what happened because we were instructed not to.
Well, let me ask you this. How long were you there before those witnesses were brought into the Gate gas station?
That I don't know
Okay.
how long it was.
So when were you instructed not to talk to people about it?
When they were actually brought all of them, all the people inside.
Right. So people were still talking about it before there was even an instruction not to. Is that fair to say?
Just the people that were inside the store, nobody that was outside, like at the pumps and stuff.
Okay. And you have no idea if people outside were talking about it because clearly you wouldn't be able to hear that. You were inside. Is that fair?
That's correct.
Okay. And at that point, were people using their cell phones inside the store?
That I don't remember.
Was it possible that people could have even been texting?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Sustained.
Did you see anybody texting?
Not that I recall, I didn't log it away.
Okay, so you weren't paying attention to the other people, you were paying attention to your kind of coworkers?
Correct.
Okay, and again, were you still pretty shaken up about it?
I was.
Okay. And is it fair to say that your entire observation and what you witnessed, my client never got out of the car to shoot. His hands were on the windowsill the entire time, is that correct?
That is what I witnessed, yes.
Judge, no further questions. Thank you, Ms. Grimes.
Ms. Wolfson?
Just briefly, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Grimes, prior to hearing the first set of shots, those 3 shots, were you looking out of the window?
No,
What were you doing?
I was ringing at my customer.
Okay. Now, also the conversations Mr. Strolla just referenced, the ones you had with the people inside of the store, that was all prior to the police coming in to the store, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
May she be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Stroller?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You're excused. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.